Hello everybody, welcome to the county seat today. I'm your host Chad Booth. We are talking about prison relocation. And we have a panel we're starting with today. We have Commissioner Leland Pollock from Garfield County and Representative Eric Hutchings from District 38 in Kearns and Mike Noel from all of Southern Utah, District 73. Welcome to the show. For all three of you, well, Eric, you're on the Wasatch Front, so you've probably seen some of this, but if you've been following the media, the whole thing about the prison is relocation and real estate. That's all they seem to be talking about, and whether somebody's going to make money, whether it's going to cost the state money, and it all seems to be tied around this transaction. But you guys are considered and concerned on a different level, so why don't we start with just saying, what's wrong with that scenario?
That scenario only takes in a tiny little part of the picture. In fact, the biggest element that we're hoping to address with that whole prison discussion is the fact that we are on the verge of probably one of the biggest changes in corrections, literally in the history of the United States. We look at the way we're handling inmate populations differently, and we have an entirely new set of data from national studies all over on what is the best way to help someone. Because corrections, if you do it correctly, really is about helping somebody to do a better job of getting back into the community. The vast majority of every single person that's incarcerated, they're all coming back. They all will. So the question that people really need to be talking about is, what can we do so when they do come back that it makes a safer community? And so the whole Draper discussion, the discussion about moving the prison is, even if we don't move it, because of the age of the facilities, the growth of our inmate population, we're still talking almost $800 million if we don't move it anywhere. Because we've got facilities that literally have chunks of concrete falling off the inside of the walls. Not a good thing for a prison, right? And so we have no choice. We have to make some decisions on what we need to do with those facilities, and if we're going to rebuild them or remodel them, do we do it in the same spot? Or do we do it someplace where we can do a better, smarter, safer job, maybe even impact the economy of a different area in a really positive way, and at the same time, perhaps do something beneficial with the land for that particular area?
Leland, you're really concerned about programs, and you have been concerned all along that prison relocation may exclude or leave some of the jails that have gotten into contracting with the correction system holding the bag. How do you feel at this point?
The programming has always been important, and people need to know that there is a lot of programs in county jails that they're just not aware of. Garfield County, they wash vehicles, they do community projects, they help out in many different areas. There's no idle time for the inmates, and not only that, there is programming that deals with substance abuse, programming for education. On and on it goes. But I think through this process, though, thanks to help from Representative Hutchings on the PRADA board, it seems like we are pretty secure as counties, and the counties out there should know that, because there is a big worry on the county part on their side. If they do have a jail and they have all these inmates, they're depending on the revenue coming in. And I think the PRADA board has pretty well dealt with that in a proper way, in my opinion.
Well, that does lead to a lot of questions, and I think we'll reserve this for when we come back. But I would like to ask the question, because tradition is you expand, you get bigger. So we build a new prison, we're going to build it bigger and better. So I want to address, when we come back from this break, is it possible it might actually be better to make the new prison smaller and distribute prisoners more across the state with the county jail help? That'll be our topic when we return to the county seat. You're watching County Seat, the show that involves local county government. We'll be right back after this commercial break.
Skiing is expensive, right? Well, how about we do something about that? Eagle Point, Southern Utah's premier resort located right outside of Beaver, Utah, is proud to announce $25 lift tickets all season long. Ski and snowboard Utah's newest resort for the lowest price, and find out why the Point, with its family-friendly staff and great atmosphere, will become your second home. $25 lift passes all season. Go to eaglepointresort.com for eligibility and restrictions. 5 lifts, 40 named runs, 1,500 vertical feet. Endless possibilities. Eagle Point Resort.
Almost 45% of the oil produced in Utah, 7.8 million barrels, comes from Duchesne County. That oil feeds our state economy, provides job growth, and supports local business. Here in Duchesne County, we're working to make Utah an economic, cultural, and technological leader. Whether you're here for business or pleasure, Duchesne County will welcome you with open arms and invite you to explore all the beauty of the Uinta Mountains. Duchesne County, close enough for business, far enough to get away.
How would you spend an extra day in Utah Valley? Stay one more day. Visit utahvalley.com to make reservations. Utah Valley. Bring everyone together.
Making sure your food is safe. It starts on the farm and continues every step of the way, all the way to your local grocery store. So when you bring home food for your family, you do so with the peace of mind that it's safe, fresh, and nutritious. Utah Department of Agriculture and Food, the guardians of Utah's food supply and sustainable agriculture. Visit ag.utah.gov for more information.
Welcome back to the county seat. Our topic today is prison relocation. It's been a hot topic. It's been covered by the media. Unfortunately, the focus has not been really on the prisoners and what's best for them. It's been on the real estate and what's best for the real estate developers, and that's really not the issue. So we left for this commercial break by saying if jails have been involved in programming and the prison is looking at redesigning itself, it has this opportunity, are we really better off by making bigger and better in the next prison and planning expansion into the future, or maybe should we be looking at going the other direction? And I'll let anybody jump on that one.
Well, I'll take that one. You're going to have a maximum security prison. You're going to have level 1 prisoners. Most of our county prisoners are level 2 or level 3 prisoners, so you have to have that maximum facility. But we can look at a whole lot of different alternatives here. As has been mentioned by Representative Hutchings and Commissioner Pollock, what we really need to do, Chad, is look at the overall prison system, which includes both the county jails, because every single prisoner that ends up in a state penitentiary has been in a county jail for some amount of time, and sometimes some significant amount of time, depending on their trial, and when they get to trial, it could be a year or more. And so we got to have a good system there. We also have the ability, by using our county jails, to go out, take prisoners out into those facilities. There may be a problem within one unit where there's a gang situation there. They can move prisoners out. There's other programming that goes on in the counties. We have a program for alcohol and drug abuse. We also have a sex offenders program out in San Juan County. So those are opportunities to move prisoners around. But as Eric mentioned, the key to this whole thing is that being able to put prisoners in this new facility in an area where we can actually have less guards to watch a certain amount of prisoners. We can also put money into better programming and facilities. This is the key to this thing. So it's not just about the land. It's really about the prison and what we can do better to keep these men from coming back.
Well, Representative, let me ask you this question. Is there obviously the programming and the structure of the jails provides a more conducive environment, but does the location of the jails, being closer to the communities that these people come from, play a part in your mind in the rehabilitation of the prisoners?
Now you're getting to the real point of it. This is exactly the point that needs to be discussed. It's, we know an awful lot now about what helps people to be successful when they're coming back out of incarceration back into the communities. And having a real good connection with the community is an incredibly important thing. It really is. And so I think it's interesting when you look at what other states are doing. California is just barely catching up to us. For the first time, California is now looking to the counties. Well, we've been in this model for a little while. We already have one satellite prison in Gunnison. But not only that, we've also got, if you look at them, really small satellite prisons all over the state with our contracted jail space. And it's worked out very, very nicely. But to your point about build bigger or build smaller, having people connected to their communities, because you think about it, when you reintegrate, you need to have the ability to get a job. You got to support yourself. Well, if you put everybody into one neighborhood, what are the chances they're all going to find meaningful employment, or they're all going to have support groups that are going to be there to help them? It's not going to work. Can't work. We've proven it won't work. So spreading that out is absolutely the direction we need to go. So the question then is how? And the nice thing is we've got great partners with the counties, and they've proven not only are they passionate about it, But in a lot of ways, they're really innovative in helping find new ways, good ways, of being able to help that population. And we're also finding there's some really unique studies out there that show that incarceration isn't necessarily always the best answer. A lot of times you put somebody into a prison situation, you leave them there long enough, they come out pretty criminal. You take somebody who messed up, deserves to be there, needs to pay their debt to society, but if you don't manage that right, you're going to end up with a hardened criminal coming back to your community. This really is about how do you make it as successful as possible when those folks come out, and the counties have already proven they're great partners on that. And so we intend, at the state level, we absolutely intend to continue that relationship.
Do you see this as a part where you may start with the throttle on at a prison, and then as a guy goes through his term, he may, get a little bit, looser control and get stepped out into the counties, and then, move from there to a halfway? Is it part of a throttling process to get a guy back in the community?
Absolutely. Let me give you a specific example. Mental health. We have an awful lot of folks incarcerated that have some mental health issues. Right now, in the state prison system, when you're done with your time and you're finished up, we give you 30 days of your meds and shake your hand and wish you the best of luck. And you could honestly, you guys know who they are. The counties deal with them, the local law enforcement deals with them, the local community deals with them. And the point of it is we're setting them up to fail for exactly that reason, because we don't have this good systematic way to help them move back into the community. And the jails can play, the counties can play, the local treatment facility groups and things like that have to be there. For this to really work, we can't have everybody in one giant lockdown facility with a big tall fence around it, and then we just give them a bus pass at the gate and say, best of luck, see you later, and hope we don't see you again, because we know for a fact that doesn't work.
One of our newer jails, Chad, was Kane County Jail, and it's the same thing in Garfield County, but we had some anxiety about prisoners coming down there, but the community in the last couple of years have really grasped onto that. We actually had to expand the chapel there because so many men were now coming to church, so they expanded the chapel. We added on programming for them. They're doing indexing for the LDS church. That's the largest amount of indexing done in the entire LDS church by far, that one unit, that prison. They read for the blind. So we've got the community involved in these people's lives. Tell them that they can succeed. Tell them they can succeed on the outside. Yeah, you made a mistake. Here's some tools to not let you make that mistake again, or help you not to make that mistake again. And it works. Right, Leland? Absolutely.
And not only that, as you use a regionalized system, you have so many options. As Representative Noel mentioned, if you have gang issues, you can break it up, you can relocate an inmate. You have many options. But another thing that needs to be mentioned, this is a good partnership between the state of Utah and the counties that has been going on many years, and it needs to continue. When the state of Utah contracts with the county, they don't have to build the facility. It's a huge savings to the state of Utah. So there's many reasons why there's 1,700 inmates out with the counties right now. And the number one reason is it's working.
Do you see corrections as they go forward giving enough flexibility to the counties as they're running their programs and their handling of state contract inmates to, as I've heard the governor say, as I've heard presidential candidates say, would much rather see 50 experiments in democracy than one? Would we much rather see 29 or 25 experiments in rehabilitation as opposed to one?
Well, let me say this first of all. Corrections right now is an excellent partner. We have an excellent partnership with Roland Cook and Corrections, and we work very closely. And they are willing to expand program. They care also about these inmates. They really do. So to answer that part of it, yes, we do have a good relationship there, and we are expanding in programs in many different directions.
The big thing you're looking at is a difference in the mindset. Are we just warehousing people? Are we putting them in for a certain amount of time and we don't really care what happens to them while they're in there? Or are we putting people into an environment where they really can improve and, again, focus on the reentry part? Will there be some minimum requirements? You bet. Can the counties live up to those? Oh, they've already proven that they can, and they're willing to consider and talk about additional ones. It'll work.
Okay, and that leads me to the next question, because now we're talking in theory about where we need to go, but it costs money. And as the counties will tell you, funding, let alone for contracting, has been a little tough, but put programming on top of it, and I know they've got some really legitimate concerns. So we will answer that question when we come back from our break here on the county seat, talking about prison relocation and, more importantly, prisoner rehabilitation. We'll be back after this commercial break.
What brings you to St. George?
Business meeting.
Staying long?
Just here for the day. Quick in and out. Hey, I just landed. Can we meet in a half an hour?
Oh, too bad. Why so fast?
Stay any longer? We'll run out of things to do. On second thought. Buddy, something's come up. I'm gonna need another hour. Can we push the meeting till noon? I am definitely gonna need to reschedule. Holy.
Sit back, relax, and enjoy your 45-minute flight to Salt Lake. How'd that meeting go?
I should have booked a weekend.
Rediscover your sense of adventure. Welcome to San Juan County. Discover the past. A change of place. Utah, San Juan County, where life is elevated.
Cedar City, Utah is home of the Tony Award-winning Utah Shakespeare Festival. But did you know that we also offer a different kind of play?
Escape the gray. Head south for clear skies. Cedar City, Bryan Head.
Welcome back to the county seat. Our conversation today has been about the rehabilitation of prisoners and getting the focus off the relocation of the prisoner or the prison and on to the relocation of the prisoners as constructive society members. So we've come all this way through. We've talked about the importance of programming, partnering with the jails, having a diverse system of incarceration so that you can manage prisoners and rehabilitate them. Now let's talk about the money side, because it's always a money side. What is the legislature doing to make this so that the counties don't have to come back and beg every year just to get this covered?
Well, I know that this has been something I've tried to push every year for the last 12 years, but this year we really hit the jackpot. We have monies that are going into extra beds, a couple $2.1 million in ongoing funds. We have made $500,000 in funds, $70,000 which was just one time before, $500,000 for programming to incentivize. I added another $500,000 of one-time money that would increase programming to $1 million, which means we can incentivize counties to do programming. And then we actually added another $1 million on top of that to raise the daily rate for all of the 1,700 prisoners that are out there. Eric's committee is the one that does that. He's the chair of appropriations for that committee, so he can maybe tell you a little more where they are on this issue.
But I'll tell you, there is no champion like Representative Noel for this topic. In fact, I absolutely expect to drive by a jail someday and see a bronze statue of him out front somewhere. Maybe not in front of a jail, but to answer your question, still not enough, actually. But the discussion we've been having about the partnership, is it permanent, is it temporary? This year we've made a huge step forward, and honestly, thanks in large part to both of these gentlemen and their championing of their abilities, their willingness to work with the state, to go from kind of a pilot, let's see how this goes, kind of get a feel for how this thing's going to work, to making it permanent and really nailing down some hardcore agreements on moving forward. We're not just going to do this, you know, one year after another, see how things go, but we want to put something in place where the counties have something they can count on, the states have things that they can count on, and we intend to try and turn this partnership into a permanent relationship, one that both sides feel good about and both sides can go home sleep pretty comfortable about.
Well, you know, not having to have served in the legislature nor having had the opportunity to be county commissioner, when I hear the word one-time funding, that always makes me real nervous. It's great that you've got a program going, Mike, but you know, are we moving towards getting a permanent stream so that
everything's permanent but 500,000. That's an additional 500,000 to get other counties incentivized to move into the program. Some of that money is going to go already, because down in San Juan County they're going to add additional beds for the sex offenders education training, and others will take it up. Maybe Garfield County will add some more beds, but it'll be there. And so once we see that, hopefully corrections will support us on it. I think they will. Yeah. And Eric's committee is the one that does it.
Well, and to continue on to your questions earlier about the land, about the whole discussion about moving the prison, this conversation didn't really get real until we started having a hardcore discussion about whether or not that facility stays. So when you look at some of the other things that have occurred from that, is, in my opinion, a much better discussion with the counties, a much more honest discussion with the counties. And so it's that, if you want to talk about the pluses, minuses, pros and cons, I think that definitely falls in the benefit category, especially on the county side.
Okay, we've got about a minute and a half left in this segment. You know, you can logically see, okay, we've got a system that's got hardened criminals, we've got maximum security, we've got medium security, we've got satellite prisons all over with the county jails as partners. But you still have that one part, the receiving communities at the end, who you've said in this half hour have been a little reluctant possibly to get involved in this. So let's talk about the role communities need to play in this.
Well, no, they haven't been reluctant. In the jail system, the county jail system right now, there are many LDS wards throughout the state, and other church denominations as well. They're involved as we speak in the programming part of it. So the communities are involved as we speak.
Okay, well, the question though is for people that aren't involved in that volunteerism, what do we do when the door opens and the guy's out on work release, or, I mean, he's at that last phase? What do we need to do to make this so it's really a success and would change lives?
There's a critical element. And again, as we change the discussion up here about what inmates and that population is and what we want to do with them, a lot of times we look at them as very, very dangerous, and we don't want them in our communities. But the simple reality is this: they need to come back and they need to be successful. But what usually is missing, where do they live? Where do they get a job? Have you hired one? What if one moves in next door? What if we want to put a halfway house in? Would you support us if we wanted to put a halfway house in your community? And almost everybody stands up and starts screaming and yelling no. But as we talked earlier, if you're talking about a way to gradually move people back into an environment where they can be successful, you have to have some of those elements. You've got to have drug treatment centers. And so take an honest look. That's what I would ask the communities. Take an honest look at the ones that we have around the state. Look at the communities that they're in. Look at the communities that are hosting jails and things like that. And just give us an honest look at how successful those programs can be and how nicely they can integrate into your community before people stand up and throw a riot.
Do we, as communities, need to be afraid of that halfway house? If they come through this rehabilitation system, it's the same kind of halfway house we used to have.
Completely different. I mean, obviously, anybody who's coming out of being incarcerated, they've got a similar background. You know, they've had some issues, they've had some struggles. I think the one thing that you're seeing that's very different is, again, the mindset, and it's the one that the counties have picked up on very nicely, is, are they just there to serve hard time? Because when you serve hard time, typically people come out hard. And we're trying to create an entirely different type of individual coming back into the communities that are better prepared, better qualified, better educated, much more likely to succeed and not have to be a criminal in order to survive. The old model that we had was, you got to be tough, you got to be rough, and you got to be willing to come out swinging, and that's not a very good way to try and integrate back into a community. So the mindset has absolutely changed at the state level. It's changed with the county jails and the programming they're doing. And we just need the communities to give us a chance.
All right, we're going to have about 2 minutes for a wrap-up. We'll be right back with the county seat. Our topic today is prison and rehabilitation. We'll be right back.
Kanab, base camp for your southern Utah adventures. You belong in Kanab.
The best part about raising children here in Vernal and the Uinta Basin is just the smaller community that makes you feel like when you go somewhere, you know everybody.
So we packed up our 3 kids and here we came to Uinta County. And what a great place it was. What a great move. Great schools, great outdoor activities. Just a really great place to raise your family.
My father, he was an engineer for Chevron, retired 39 some odd years. And Jeff, my husband, it's the same way. He's always worked in the oil and gas, always had a job here. And with that industry, when it does good, the whole valley thrives.
Uinta Basin's been fantastic in supporting what we've tried to do both as a business and also in the development of mountain bike trails and the sport of mountain biking.
I'm able to run up to a beautiful place like this and spend some good quality time. It's one of the big reasons why I live where I live.
And that makes it just a wonderful place to have little ones like this.
Check out these pictures from my vacation.
Where did you go again?
Garfield County, you know, like Bryce Canyon, Devil's Rock Garden,
Where's that?
Capitol Reef, Kodachrome Basin, Highway 12.
Wait a minute, I wanted to see more.
A picture may be worth 1,000 words, but there's nothing like experiencing the real thing firsthand. Gather your family and see the world's largest concentration of scenic attractions. Garfield County, Utah. Find the ultimate adventure.
Welcome back to the county seat. Our topic today has been rehabilitation of prisoners. PROD has been in the headlines a lot. We've covered a lot of ground. If you've missed it so far, you can go watch it online. Final thoughts, gentlemen.
Let me just say one thing, Chad, if I could. These 2 gentlemen served on the PROD board. Eric's been up here for like 14 years now. He's been involved in prisons and prison issues and contracting. He's been one of our best friends in the county. We sincerely appreciate him. Leland, I call him John Wayne Leland Pollock. He comes in.
So does my wife, actually.
Yeah, he came into this program fairly new here last year, and he has done an outstanding job representing the interests of the counties in the contracting. We couldn't have done it without Leland and without Eric. So I just thank them very much, and I thank you for bringing this issue to the forefront and let people see it. That's helped us get to where we are.
Great. Any other thoughts?
Well, and thanks right back to Noel, Representative Noel. He's been a champion for the counties and the state. But I would like to add this right at the end of this show. It's going to cost money either way, whether the prison stays where it's at or whether it's moved, and a lot of money. So I would encourage everybody in the state to be patient. We're going to get this right. This is the great state of Utah. Many good things happen in Utah. We're a model, and we will get this right.
The best part about this whole discussion with the prison is it's got people thinking in new ways. Instead of just doing the same old, and more of it, is there a better, smarter way to do this? And our discussions with the counties have been a big part of that discussion about doing it better, doing it smarter.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today. Yeah. Thank you for joining us from your homes. We appreciate it very much. Remember, local government is where your life happens. Be part of the solution. Pass this message along to your friends. This has been an important show. Get involved and share it with your friends. We'll see you next week on the County Seat.